Hi guys, it's me, Mr. Bertoch, your incredibly handsome science teacher. And in this video, we are going to learn about soil erosion. Hello, fellow human. Like me, you are alive, probably. You're probably not watching this if you're dead. And you are, and like you and I, there are many other people on this planet who are also human and who are also alive. There are billions of us. I don't actually know what the actual count is. It was like 7 billion at last I saw, and I'm sure gone way up from there because that was a while ago. But there are billions of humans, and all of us billions of humans are walking around this planet eating because we have to eat or we will, in fact, die. And so eating is pretty gosh darn important. And so we have to have places to get food. And there's a lot of us. And so all of those many humans, we all need to eat. In this video, I'm going to talk about how the production of food, in particular plant-based food, like fruits and vegetables, can create some issues with the earth in the form of soil erosion and how we can mitigate those issues, how perhaps you will be able to mitigate the issues of soil erosion that occur as a result of farming. But first, let's talk a little bit about what soil is. So, soil is a mixture of what? It's a mixture of sand, and sand is just broken down rocks that have been over many millions of years have been eroded or weathered really away and gotten smaller and smaller and smaller until they are tiny little baby pieces of rock. And if you look under at sand under a microscope, that's all it is. It's just tiny little broken down baby pieces of rock. And so that's sand. Clay is a similar thing. It's just made of smaller pieces. Okay, so sand, clay, these are all inorganic. Inorganic is a fancy sciencey word that just means non-living. Inorganic stuff like sand and clay does not make a very great soil. If I am going to feed people, if I'm going to grow food like fruits and vegetables, and meat is super yummy as well, but I'm not talking about that right now. We do eat meat, and meat's important, but right now we're talking about fruits and vegetables. So if we're going to grow delicious fruit and vegetables, because salads are really yummy, and I'm not just saying that, I actually do like salads. It's like one of my favorite foods. And if I'm going to grow all the things in the salad, like the lettuce and the tomatoes and the corn and then, whatever else is in my delicious salad, I actually, coincidentally, not planned, have a salad sitting right behind me right now on the shelf where you can't see it. And there is corn in there and tomatoes and things on the top of that salad. Yeah. So anyway, all the things, if I'm going to grow all those things, I need to have really great soil. And farmers, they look for places when they're planning a farm, when they're looking for where am I going to put my farm, they look for places with really great soil. Sand by itself is not a great soil. I need, along with the inorganic material, I also need organic material. Organic is a fancy sciencey word that means living. Organic material would be things like decaying leaves and trees and grasses and even animals and worms, living worms, things in the soil that are organic. In order to have a great soil, a dark, black, rich soil where things will grow, I need to have inorganic sand and clay and loam and stuff and loam, and I need uh, inorganic. No, I need organic stuff like plant material, leaves, etc., broken down twigs and things that are there that make the soil rich and deep and black. Well, it takes certain conditions to get a great soil to form, and it takes a lot of time to get a great soil. We're talking thousands of years. It depends on the location, but you might get an inch of soil that forms every 1,000 years. It could be much quicker, or it could be much, much slower. It just kind of depends on your location. But it takes a long time for a good, rich, deep soil to form. If you look out across in autumn and you see all the leaves that are turning orange, and then what do? They fall off the tree. That helps to enrich the soil, but just a tiny little bit. It takes a lot of autumns for a soil to get really good. Where is a great soil more likely to form? On the side of a mountain, like where it's really steep? Do you think you're going to get a good soil there? Because on the side of a mountain, where it is really steep, what happens? The soil, any soil that forms when it rains or the wind comes, it's just going to blow away, okay, or wash away. It's not going to be able to adhere to the side of the mountain. So I need an area that is flat or mostly flat in order to get a good soil to pile up. Another thing that I need is good drainage. If I don't have good drainage, it's going to fill up with water. It's going to be swampy. You're just not going to get a great soil that can form. So I get the best soils in places that are mostly flat and that have good drainage, such as a mountain meadow, and also the great plains or savannas or grasslands of the world tend to form truly great soils over many thousands of years. Grasslands in particular, and the reason is because one of the reasons they are flat and they do have good drainage, but another reason is they are full of grass. And grass has this wonderful property when it comes to soil formation, that it has a deep and extensive, grasses have a deep and extensive root system. Have you ever sat on a lawn and pulled off handfuls of grass and made a ball and threw it at someone in the face because you are a very nice person? Have you ever done that? And did you notice that when you pulled up the grass, what happened? The grasses broke off, right? And you probably didn't pull the roots out of the ground, because it's really hard to pull grass roots up out of the ground, because grass has evolved that way. Grasses feed a lot of animals, like what? Like deer and moosen, or whatever you call them, moosen, and zebras and wildebeests and bison and horses and all kinds of things. Cows eat grass, and if the grasses were to come up by the roots and the animal ate them, then that would be the end of the plant. So grasses have evolved to break off really easy. They have these anchor-like roots that are extensive. They go deep down into the ground and hold the plant in really well, so all the animals who are nibbling on it won't be able to pull them out. And when you take a handful of grass to throw it at your sister, it just breaks off. It's like when you mow your lawn, and then 2 days later, what happens? Your grass just grows right back, and you're like, what the heck? Didn't I just mow this grass? And now it's already back again. Okay, that's what grass does. That extensive root system in the ground is great for soil creation or formation because it holds the soil down. The soil is locked up in all these roots. And so when the wind blows and the rain falls, you don't really hardly get any, or you do get some, but you get very little soil erosion. And that allows the soil to get deeper and deeper and richer and just to pile up over many, many years. So if I am a farmer, and by the way, I would be a very handsome farmer, that goes without saying, with my handsome straw farmer hat and my piece of hay or straw in my mouth, yes, I would be a great farmer. In fact, I grew up on a farm. But if I were a handsome farmer, well, I would definitely be a handsome farmer. If I were a farmer who happened to be handsome, and I were looking for where I was going to put my farm, I would pick an area that had great soil because I want my farm, I want it to be successful. What's the point of farming if it's not going to be a successful venture? So I'm going to look for a place with great soil. But then what am I going to do? Once I find the area, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is great. This has great soil. What am I going to do? What's the first thing I'm going to do? I'm going to go out onto my tractor and I'm going to drive it around and I am going to floof up the soil. I'm going to make the soil more floofy with my tiller. I'm going to till up the soil because I don't want the grass. I want to plant corn or tomatoes or whatever it is I am going to be farming. Okay, and the grass is in the way. So I'm going to till up the grass. Well, remember, what was the grass doing? The grass was doing a really important job with the soil. It was holding it down. It was anchoring the soil and keeping it there so that it wouldn't blow away. And what do I replace the grass with? Let's say I plant corn. So I come in and I plant rows of corn, a bounteous crop of corn in this nice, thick, naturally formed soil. And I get a great crop of corn. But every time the wind blows and every time I irrigate, what happens to my soil? My soil is blowing away in the wind and it's washing away in the irrigation. Have you ever walked by a river after like a big storm and noticed that the water that was once nice and clear is now like chocolate milk? Why does the water look that way? Why does the water look like chocolate milk? It's because it is full of soil. Upstream from that river, a lot of farmers' soil has washed away and it's now in the river, and you are actually seeing soil erosion with your own eyes. Now, soil erosion has always been a natural process, but in the past it was much more balanced. And now there's way more soil washing down in the rivers and streams than there has ever been in the past. That creates a lot of problems for the farm and for the rivers. Okay, the farm, they're going to run out of good soil, and it takes thousands of years to replace it. And we need that soil because I like to eat my salads. And all of us, all the billions of us, we want to eat our fruits and our vegetables. And we need soil. Soil is this thin layer, not very thick, that provides the food for billions and billions of us. So as that soil is blowing away or washing away and getting thinner and thinner, that's a pretty significant problem. It's also a problem for the water systems. They're not supposed to have this much soil in them. And it clouds up the water, which makes it harder for plants and things to get enough light. It creates algae blooms in the water, which makes fish sick. It even kills fish. And it fills up streams with sandbars and a lot more sediments than is natural and typical. So it creates a significant problem. It is important to produce food. Farming is a good thing. There is nothing wrong with farming. but we need to mitigate the soil erosion. And an engineer, which is just a type of scientist, an engineer is a type of scientist who comes up with identifies solutions to problems, comes up with ideas and ways to solve problems. An engineer like you, perhaps, engineers are working with farmers to come up with solutions to mitigate soil erosion. Some of the things that they do are like creating burrs and walls around their farms, or putting netting over their farm, the soil, or planting grasses in between crops. So there are a lot of solutions that engineers have come up with to help to reduce soil erosion. But not all, and yes, I did just say but, you're welcome. But not all of the solutions are yet thought of, if that makes sense, right? Because that's the engineering process. We're always coming up with better and better and better solutions. And I say that because I think it's important that you are thinking about the fact that you are capable of coming up with a better solution than any engineer has yet come up with. And you might say to yourself, yeah, Mr. Bertoch, whatever. I am just a half-sized, tiny little human, and I cannot come up with a great idea that is better than scientists and engineers. But that's not true. The reality is that you are capable of coming up with good ideas. In fact, I will tell you that the best ideas, there are way more good ideas out there that no one has yet thought of than there are that people have thought of. It feels like, because we live in this world, it feels like all the best ideas are already taken, but they're not. Okay, a fraction of the best ideas have been taken. There are so many more best ideas out there that no one's thought of yet. I promise you. There are way more, way more best ideas that no one's ever come up with. And you, just by sitting down and going, I wonder, and thinking about it, and children even often do come up with better ideas than adults do. There are children who have made inventions and come up with done scientific discoveries that they were the first, and they did that as a child. So you can come up with a solution. So think about it. Ponder soil erosion and how you might help to mitigate, fancy science word that means to reduce, the problems that so that we can have a sustainable system of farming, an ongoing sustainable means of producing food, plants, delicious salads for future generations, and reduce soil erosion so that it's not having a negative impact on the environment, and allow us to continue to farm and be successful, handsome farmers without creating soil erosion. Hi guys, thanks for watching my video. These rambling science videos where I go unscripted and just kind of barf up all the science knowledge out of my head are part of a series that go along with an online class that I teach, which you can sign up for if you go to handsomescienceteacher.com. I also have a whole bunch of free resources for homeschoolers. I have hundreds of articles on every topic that covers your entire science curriculum from 5th through 8th grade. I have online games and quizzes, all curated and written by this handsome guy, a science teacher with, well, three degrees, but 2 of them are in science. So it's targeted right to and directly to your science students. So sign up, subscribe to the channel, and I release lots of videos. Also, in addition to these ones, lots of little short videos that are like 2 minutes long that cover science topics Those ones you don't get to see my handsome face, but they're still good videos, and they're much more targeted, and those ones are scripted, so you don't have to hear me like you are right now going blah, blah, blah. The end. Subscribe. Thank you. Goodbye.